Hey guys, today I want to talk about big differences between Filipinos and American. What sets Filipinos and Filipinos apart from Americans and American culture and the things that are so different? But one of the biggest things that I notice here is this, is that in the Philippines, people don't argue as much about politics and all the stuff that we talk about back home. They don't have problems with issues like Americans do. I noticed that it's okay to have differences. You can still love people. Whereas Americans are kind of like, well, if I have a difference between you and me or whatever, I don't like you. You know, it's a substantial difference. And I'm not saying all Americans are like that, because they're not. And I think a lot of Americans that have left have come here and probably left because of stuff like that. Now, some people come here and they take that with them. But another one of the differences I notice is when families sit around and they talk at the kitchen table or they talk at home, they don't talk politics. You know, in the United States, we get together with our family on Thanksgiving and Christmas or Easter or something like that. First thing we start talking about at the table is politics, Republican, Democrat, wokeism, whatever it may be, and people start fighting and arguing, and it's something over here you don't see people do that much because they really don't care. They know that there's not that much that they can do about it. I notice when people talk about any issue, no matter what it is, they don't hate the people because they're different. They just kind of agree to disagree over here. It's kind of an interesting take on the Philippines over here, is that it's a huge difference. Okay, and one thing I notice over here about politics is this, is that politics over here is totally different because they don't push that division in the news, in the newspapers, on the radio or anything like that. You don't see that much talk about stuff like that. You don't hear that much talk. Most people don't even pay attention to the news over here that much, I notice. It's not a big issue if you miss the news or you don't know anything that's going on in the news unless it's something big. They just don't follow the news. For whatever reason, they don't follow the world news. You could ask them about Ukraine. Some people don't even know that Ukraine is at war with Russia. They just don't know. They don't have any clue about this stuff. They just don't follow world events like Americans do. And it's kind of cool that they don't. And in some ways, it's kind of bad that they don't. I mean, I like keeping up with world events, but sometimes it wears on you. Let's face it, in the United States, all the stuff that's going on over there, it wears on you after a while. It brings down the country. It drags down the country. It drags the country down into the mud. It's one of the things over here that's a good quality about the Philippines and the Filipino people. It's a great quality, actually. You know, that they don't follow that stuff. But there are times when, sometimes for Americans, we like to have a good old-fashioned discussion about politics. It kind of makes us feel at home. You know what I mean? And over here, it's hard to find somebody to have that conversation with, even with expats over here. Whatever type of conversation it may be, some people just don't like to talk about that subject anymore because they come over here to escape it. So they don't want to discuss it anymore. And with Filipinos, they're so out of the loop on politics over here that they don't even have a clue what you're talking about half the time when you try having a conversation with them about politics in the United States or some subjects over here. I noticed that they're just not educated on the same way we are in the United States. I'm not sure what it is, but there is a huge difference when you try to have a conversation with some Filipino girls over here or even Filipino men. They're just not as educated in the news and world events, all that stuff. It just doesn't matter to them. And to us, it does. And, you know, I want to talk about that today, but there's other differences too, is that I notice that when you're out and about, families talk about family issues constantly. And even when we're out and about or with, you know, meeting family members somewhere else or whatever, if you're with your girlfriend or you're with a friend and you're over at their house or whatever, the subject matter is usually small talk. It's all small talk. There's no huge conversations or very difficult conversations. They kind of keep the conversation light. There's no, it leaves out that division, that hatred. And it's another one of the things that I love about the Philippines is that You know, and at tables and stuff like that, when you're out to dinner with Filipinos and friends, we just talk about each other and our jobs or what we do, what do we do in our past. We talk about our families. There's never a heavy discussion at the table, very seldom. And it certainly makes for interesting banter sometimes and talk. But, you know, sometimes you do miss that. You do miss it. I miss it. And anyway, I wanted to talk about that a little bit. I thought it'd be kind of a cool subject today. God bless, guys. Take care.